They say love conquers all. When I stood across from Emma on our wedding day, holding her hands and looking into her bright, joyful eyes, I believed that was true. I thought love was all we needed. Love would make our marriage unbreakable, right? I wish I could go back and talk to that younger version of me, standing there in his perfect suit, full of dreams and confidence. I'd tell him, love is the easy part, Mark. It's everything else, patience, understanding, compromise, that really matters. At the time, I didn't know that. I thought our love would carry us through anything. But marriage isn't a fairy tale, and life doesn't care how much you love someone if you can't learn how to truly see them. This is the story of how I almost lost the most important person in my life, and how we found our way back. The honeymoon glow. When Emma and I first got married, everything felt perfect. We were that annoying couple who couldn't stop smiling at each other, who held hands everywhere we went. It was like the world had shrunk to just the two of us. Emma was electric. She could light up any room she walked into, and I loved her for it. She was spontaneous and full of life. The kind of person who could wake up and decide we needed to drive 3 hours to find a hidden gem breakfast spot. I was the opposite. I liked structure. I thrived on plans and order. But somehow, it worked. Her chaos balanced my control. At least, that's what I thought in the beginning. One of my favorite memories from those early days was the time Emma came home with cans of teal paint. "We're painting the bedroom," she declared, waving a paint roller like a magic wand. "Teal?" I asked, skeptical. "Isn't that bold?" She laughed, already pulling furniture away from the walls. "Life's too short for boring walls, Mark." I spent the next 4 hours covered in paint, arguing over brush strokes and laughing when we accidentally left handprints on the ceiling. By the end of the night, I was exhausted but happy. That was Emma's magic. She could turn the ordinary into something unforgettable. First cracks. As the months went by, the little differences that had once made us laugh began to feel like cracks in the foundation. Emma's spontaneity, which I had admired so much, started to feel like irresponsibility. She'd leave dishes in the sink for days, her clothes in piles around the house, and groceries shoved haphazardly into the fridge. One morning, I opened the fridge and saw that everything was out of place. Milk on the top shelf, vegetables in random drawers. I called out, "Emma, why can't you just put things where they belong?" She appeared in the doorway, a cup of coffee in her hand. "It's just food, Mark," she said with a shrug. "It's not just food," I replied, frustration bubbling up. "It's about being organized, about thinking things through." Her smile faded. "You mean it's about doing things your way?" That argument didn't last long, but it left a bad taste in both our mouths. The mushroom incident. Things came to a head one evening when Emma decided to surprise me with dinner. She came home from the store, excitedly unpacking groceries. "I'm making pasta," she said, her voice full of pride. When she served the plates, I froze. Mushrooms. The dish was full of mushrooms. "Emma, I said, setting my fork down. You know I hate mushrooms. Her face fell. I thought you liked them, she said, her voice uncertain. We've been married for over a year, I snapped. How could you not know this by now? Her hands tightened around the edges of the table. I made a mistake, Mark. I'm sorry. I should have let it go, but I didn't. This isn't just about the mushrooms. I said, it's everything. You don't pay attention to the details. You just do whatever you want, and I'm the one who has to deal with it. Her eyes narrowed. Maybe if you weren't so obsessed with work, you'd notice that I'm trying. The fight spiraled from there, touching on everything from chores to money to the fact that we hadn't gone on a date in months. Maybe you should cook for yourself next time, she said, standing up and walking away. I sat there, staring at the plate of pasta I couldn't eat, wondering how we had gone from handprints on the ceiling to this. A call for help. A few weeks later, Emma called me while I was at work. Her voice was shaky. Mark, can you come home? It's Maximum. Max was our golden retriever, the one thing that always brought us together. No matter how much we fought, Max could make us laugh. When I got home, Emma was sitting on the floor, holding Max in her arms. His breathing was shallow, and his eyes were full of pain. The vet told us there wasn't much time left. That night, we sat together on the living room floor, holding Max and crying. For the first time in months, we weren't fighting. We were just two people who loved their dog, united in grief. Max passed away a week later, and the house felt unbearably empty. Emma suggested we adopt another dog, not to replace Max, she said, but because Max wouldn't want us to stop loving. We brought home Bailey, a rambunctious puppy, who turned our lives upside down. Training him was chaos, but it also forced us to work together again. Emma's independence. Around the same time, Emma started pursuing her own interests. She joined a book club, started painting again, and spent more time with her friends. I should have been happy for her, but instead, I felt left out. One evening, she came home late from a book club meeting, her face glowing with excitement. You should have heard the discussion tonight, she said. I nodded distractedly, my eyes on my laptop. Mark, are you even listening? I'm busy, I replied. Her smile faded. You're always busy, she said quietly. Her words stung, but I didn't know how to respond. I didn't realize then how lonely she must have felt. The financial blow-up. The next big fight came when Emma bought tickets to see the Lumineers without telling me. She was so excited when she handed me the envelope. Surprise, she said, grinning. I opened it and saw the ticket prices. My stomach sank. Emma, how much did these cost? She hesitated. Does it matter? We haven't done anything fun in months. It does matter, I said, my voice rising. We agreed to save money. You can't just make these decisions on your own. Her smile vanished. I thought you'd be happy, she said, her voice defensive. I just wanted to do something nice for us. This isn't about the tickets, I said. It's about the fact that you don't think before you act. You never consider how your choices affect me. Her face flushed with anger. And you never stop trying to control everything. Maybe if you loosened up once in a while, we wouldn't feel like strangers. I didn't know what to say, so I said nothing. She walked away, leaving me holding the tickets that were supposed to bring us closer together. The cooking class. A few weeks later, Emma suggested we take a cooking class. We need to try something new, she said. I reluctantly agreed. At the class, the instructor asked us to make a dish that represented our relationship. Emma smiled at me. Let's make lasagna, she said. Why lasagna? I asked. Because it's messy, she said. But it all comes together in the end. We laughed and bickered as we cooked, spilling sauce and arguing over the layers. By the time we finished, the kitchen was a disaster. But the lasagna was perfect in its imperfections. This is us, Emma said, her voice soft, messy, complicated, but it works. The journal. A few weeks later, I found Emma's old journal in the attic. Inside was a simple entry. I love him, but sometimes I feel invisible. I wish he would let me in. Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. That night, I showed her the journal. I didn't know you felt this way, I said. We talked late into the night, sharing everything we'd been holding back. It was hard, but it was also the most honest conversation we'd ever had. Conclusion. Now, years later, our marriage isn't perfect, but it's stronger. We've learned to listen, to forgive, and to laugh at ourselves. The lasagna recipe still sits in our kitchen, a reminder of everything we've been through. Love wasn't enough to save us, but understanding was. When I look at Emma now, I don't just see my wife, I see my partner, my equal, and the woman who taught me that even the messiest stories can have a beautiful ending.